The campaign, launched in 2024 as part of the bank's World Environment Day activities, is designed to combat climate change, reduce carbon emissions, and promote environmental sustainability. The initiative supports the United Nations Decade of Ecosystem Restoration and is integrated into Polaris Bank's long-term sustainability strategy. The tree species selected include both fruit-bearing and shade-providing types. These are intended to aid in erosion control, serves as windbreaks, provide shades, and contribute to local food security. Polaris Bank has committed to planting 10,000 trees nationwide. The initiative is being supported by senior bank executives at regional levels to ensure implementation and local engagement. Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC has announced the appointment of Mr. Chukwuma Nwokocha as a substantive Group Chief Executive Officer effective October 2nd, 2025. The appointment follows regulatory approval and concludes the interim leadership of Dr. Adekunle Adedeji, who served as acting Group CEO. Dr. Adedeji will continue as Executive Director and Chief Finance and Value Management Officer. Under Adedeji's interim leadership, the group recorded its best financial performance since inception and successfully completed a rights issue to meet the Central Bank of Nigeria's recapitalization requirement ahead of the March 31st, 2026 deadline. As of June 30, 2025, the group's total assets stood at 8.12 trillion, up from 6.91 trillion as of December 31st, 2024. Total liabilities rose to 7.17 trillion from 6.24 trillion, while shareholders' equity increased to 941.73 billion from 661.89 billion, driven by retained earnings and proceeds from the rights issue. For H1 2025, the group recorded gross earnings of 516.63 billion, a 35.2% increase year-on-year. Profit before tax rose by 65.8% to 243.74 billion, while profit after tax increased by 49.1% to 173.43 billion. Basic earnings per share grew to 1,078 kobo compared to 884 kobo in H1 2024. Nigeria has emerged as the primary supplier of crude oil to the Dakar refinery in Senegal, a 30,000 barrels per day facility. Thus, by becoming an oil-producing nation in 2024, Senegal is unable to use its locally produced crude from the Sagoma field due to compatibility issues with the refinery's configuration. Sagoma produces approximately 100,000 barrels per day of medium sour crude, which is mostly exported to European countries including Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands. The Dakar refinery, however, is designed to process lighter, sweeter grades of crude oil, making a Sangamo crude unsuitable without blending. To meet its processing needs, Senegal has turned to Nigerian's ERA crude, which has a lighter composition. Recent reports indicate that ERA imports into Dakar have averaged 30 kbd in recent months. Thus, by local crude production, Senegal remains dependent on imports for refined petroleum products. Between 2024 and 2025, the country imported between 90,000 and 100,000 barrels per day of refined fuel. Of this volume, 50 to 60% originated from Russia, primarily in the form of gas oil, diesel, and fuel oil. While Nigeria continues to supply crude feedstock to Senegal's refinery, its own local refineries, including the Dangote refinery, have reported inadequate domestic crude supply and have returned to import from the United States to sustain production. Phase 2 of the Sangoma project is under review and includes plans for 33 additional wells with a projected startup in 2027. However, Senegal's crude output is expected to remain stable at 100 kbd in the near term. And that is the close of the business news segment for tonight. I am Soher or Seregi reporting for BTV News.